We've been doing movie nights for
years.
So Gen Xer and
A Gen Z. Random weird moments that the two of us have experienced, and there are a lot of those.
And he crashes them.
As you do.
It's like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, where did this come from? Why are we singing?
I mean, you're not going to learn anything about the movies listening to us talk. This is the Argo City Podcast. Film, conventions, and fan life with Maddie and Matthew. So this week, it is the movie box, yes, it's the movie wheel of, I keep saying box because I'm so used to box. But no, movie Wheel of Boom.
And this week, our movie was My Hero Academia World Mission, or World Heroes Mission.
And why are we doing that this week?
Because last week during our TD night, we finished the final episode of My Hero Academia. Over the past 2 years, we have been watching through all the episodes, and we are finally caught up, which I stopped watching around the middle of season 6, so I was watching with him as we were going through this. But I can't believe we finally finished it. I never expected us to actually catch up.
Season 6 is the key word there for those of you listening to this in the future. Hello. Who's president now? Anyhow.
Maybe let's not go into politics. But it was... Whew.
So, yeah, we finished everything, and suddenly Maddie realized that we hadn't seen...
the last movie. We hadn't finally watched the last movie.
We've done the other ones during movie nights.
Heck, I'd even done them earlier than I was technically supposed to. But I realized, because I asked him, because I was wondering, it's like, we've gone through the other ones. Have we gone through the one where he's a felony? And you look at me confused, and you're like, no? And I'm like, okay.
That's probably good of places ever to start, because this is an interesting way of... it's an interesting setting. It's a road trip. We haven't gotten that before. It's a road trip. It's an outlaw road trip, which is... Actually, that's a genre I kind of like. I was going to head out to the Case Western Film Society last weekend to see From Dusk Till Dawn. That's what it is. Two crooks on the lam who are taking a road trip to Mexico, and unfortunately they get stopped by vampires. But
okay.
But it's a road trip movie. It's that sort of thing. So that's not what I was expecting from here.
No, it's definitely a bit unconventional compared to some of the other movies. I mean, to be fair, in like one of them we go over to the U.S. We're back in the U.S. for the, well, European-ish for this particular movie.
U.S. and European is not the same.
Yeah.
We are in a fictional European country that is, I don't know, my personal headcanon is they're in the same European country that Spy Family happens in.
Yes, because at one point, Rhodey, as he is doing his parkour crap, like, poor animators, across the rooftops and stuff, he falls down onto, like, you know, like that classic Disney moment where you fall into the top of a cart. And we see just a white dog as he's falling. And my dad, you called that out during it. You're like, it's Bond! And I was like, not comprehending. I was like, what? And he said, it's Bond! And I'm like, huh. I mean, you're not exactly wrong.
I mean, it is that same kind of generic Eastern European... Because I was trying to figure out exactly where I'm at. And the red bridges and building. I'm like, are we in Tokyo? No. It gives me the impression of San Francisco, but it's not. Those buildings, Italy. And so yes, fictional, generic European metropolis.
That was one of the things that was really interesting about this, especially during the intro when they play the song. They do this amazing intro where they show us where each of the different classmates are.
And we didn't pay any attention at all.
I was paying attention to most of the end of it. You were the one that was talking through the beginning of it. So excuse me. But I thought that was fascinating, even just the way that it's so different from the usual ones. Because you've said multiple times that you hate the intros to a lot of these seasons. Except for the outro from season 2. You liked that one for some reason.
Yes, the one with the girls like in a circle, and there's just something very peaceful about it. But that's kind of... See, one of the things I'm realizing here is when it comes to My Hero Academia, I really like the movies better than the TV show, I think.
Really?
Yeah, because we're getting these encapsulated, contained adventures. And this is what I expected from the series. The series, on the other hand, is this... Even though we're broken up into seasons and there's some difference, we really have these long, unrelenting story arcs that go forever, and they don't deliver us enough. Going from the fandom, going from just what I would observe at conventions and from people talking about it, I thought there was more.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought there were more stories. I thought there were more adventures. And there's a lot less than I expected.
Okay.
Because they're just one long story a lot of times.
I'm going to cut in here again for just a minute. We do get a lot of those one-off stories in the OVAs that I will be showing you because we skipped over them mostly to focus on the main story and such. But there are like 2 or 3 episodes because I typically do one every season or so. Like, not getting into the specifics, but there's one where they have a baseball tournament. There is one where they, like, solve a murder mystery. There's another one where, I think we did the murder mystery one. There's, like, another one where I've heard something about zombies. I don't know the details because I haven't been able to find it for the life of me. But there's a lot of that kind of stuff. It's just we've mostly skipped over it. But I do kind of agree that some of those stories just do kind of go on and on and on and on.
And you know what? This may be a perspective issue, too. Because as a Gen Xer, I grew up with television that was weekly. And at the end of every episode, for the most part, you had to make sure that you returned to the same status quo as the beginning of the episode.
So they were like serialized instead of, I forget the other term.
Serialized is actually what My Hero is. It's one long serial as opposed to episodic.
Episodic, that's the term I was looking for.
So, and you know, we're watching Star Trek right now.
Yeah.
When we watched Next Generation, you saw a lot of that. The episode starts one way, and we go through our conflict, and it ends with us in the same place. Now, we moved on to Deep Space Nine, which is more serialized. So we're getting a little bit more of what you're used to with this long arc about the war and about the changelings.
Yeah.
But there's still elements of that whole... we still have to keep kind of the same. So that's what I'm used to. And so when My Hero Academia is like season 2 is one long episode. Season 3 is one long episode.
I will literally jump in there for like season 2 with like the whole so season 2, for those of you that don't know, it's a sports festival arc where they're like fighting among their peers in order to like win and be recognized for their internships. I specifically, because this is the point where I actually jumped ahead, because originally we started off watching it together, and around, I want to say, like a third or maybe halfway, maybe a little more than halfway through that season, I ended up watching the rest of it on my own because I couldn't sit there and just continue watching these episodes every day. And that's when I kind of got ahead of the quote. I think it took me around a week or so to get through the entire rest of the series, which at the time was like up to season 5, I believe. But because I was also watching that alongside Demon Slayer, but
you see, that's what's so appealing about the movies. The movies are episodes. The movies are the episodes I expected. You could break this into 2 episodes, and it would be fine. And give me another 12 of these. And that's what I'm used to.
I don't know. Like, that's one of the things that when you've put on a lot of Doctor Who's, as for a lot of people may or may not know, I hate cliffhangers. I hate them so much with such and I hate that when Doctor Who does that. And I kind of get like why they need to do that to kind of keep you coming back, as you've talked about before, but it's one of the things I like about this is that you can kind of just keep watching, and a lot of times you'll never run out of content because whatever the producers haven't made, there is fan art. Did you know that My Hero Academia actually did a collaboration with a zoo in Tokyo? They
No.
have fan art of them literally holding animals, and it is the cutest thing ever. I can't remember who's holding. I know Izuku is holding a little tiger, but I forget the other ones. But literally anything that you can't find via proper medium, there's been fan fiction written about it. There is fan art of it. There is animatics, animations. There are cosplayers. There is everything.
That's very much a Japanese thing, though, and an anime thing, but especially a Japanese thing. Japanese fans are just they're in America for some reason. We were like taught to be ashamed of it, so you have some of that, but you don't have it to the degree that you have it in Japan.
I want to visit Japan.
So no, it doesn't surprise me, but I get it. And again, we've got a movie here where it's a chance to like do some extra stuff. I want to talk about Rhodey a little bit because I like
Yes,
Rhodey.
go into it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, now one of the other things we've been going through lately is X-Men. We're going through the original cartoon, not like any of the reboots or anything like that. We are going through the one that was in 1992.
Been very good so far.
Yes. So, and that's very much X-Men as I remember it. It's post-peak X-Men. It's not Claremont, but it's almost post-superhero version of X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so it's a really good era for it. It's got a lot of the characters that I like. Rhodey reminds me a lot of Gambit. And so the Gen Xers are all going to be like, yeah. And the Gen Zers are going to be like, wait, you mean like the guy who guest starred in Deadpool and Wolverine? Because we
need to get around to that. We really need to get around to that movie.
Well, yeah, but you got to get through.
I gotta watch Deadpool.
It's in the
2.
track. It's in the pipeline.
I gotta watch Deadpool 2 though. I've only seen the first one.
That's also in the pipeline. So
good to know.
But we're also doing you through some other X-Men stuff before that. But I cannot explain how big Gambit was in my era. This was one of the cool characters. Back in a time when the only books that Marvel was selling, if it didn't have a spider on it or an X on it, that was it. Those were the only things that were selling.
Oh, really?
Can you imagine that at a time before the MCU?
Because, I mean, like, I still remember as a kid, I really liked the X-Men. I remember Storm was always my favorite character, and even as we've been revisiting that show, I've been like, I love this girl.
Yeah,
I
still
am
is.
always calling her out in that, because I love her. She is so awesome in this. Like, I love the costume, even which is like the little thing. But we're getting off track again. But
See, Rhodey reminds me of Gambit, though. Gambit's training, his upbringing is as a thief. And Rhodey strikes me as that kind of... He's that morally ambiguous...
Like morally gray.
I mean, I thought they were going to just do a bait and switch on us. I thought it was going to be a gag. I thought he was going to basically be a Door Dasher. Kind of is. Jewels instead of tacos.
Yeah, and also important files instead of, well...
But yeah, it's that morally gray, very cool look and attitude. And so he reminds me a lot of Gambit. And it was that... So he was fun to follow. And it's like, if I'd watched this earlier, I would have been disappointed that we don't see him again.
Yeah, that is kind of one of the things. Like, that's a lot of the things with the movies and stuff. I know they reference the two heroes a lot because they reference Melissa multiple times in the series. But aside from that, the movies are kind of separate, to be honest. I mean, kind of hard to say there, but it is kind of a shame we don't really see him again.
No, because he had interesting.
But he also lives on the other side of the world, though, so I don't know how exactly they would.
He does, but he has interesting chemistry with Midoriya, and he was just compelling in of himself.
Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your thought process regarding his quirk, like little Pico.
Well, see, I don't think it's just. I actually think his explanation was, well, she shows my emotions. I don't know that's. I think that's a side effect. I think she's a familiar.
Like full youth.
Like
Really?
like a witch familiar. Because that's why she's able to, at the very end of the movie,
Spoilers
it's the
if you haven't
tiny,
seen it.
it's the tiny bird that saves the day. It's the tiny bird that pushes the button or flips the switch. It's not any human. So I think there's more to it than that.
Yeah, I remember when I first watched it, I was thinking maybe he has the ability to control it in certain circumstances.
I don't know if he's even aware of it.
Yeah, that's the kind of ambiguous thing there. We don't really know completely how it works. I mean, we saw the bird disappear, so it even makes me wonder maybe he regained consciousness enough for the bird to reappear. Mm-hmm. But
who's the bird again?
Okay, so the bird is voiced by Christina V. Now this lady is everywhere, and I pointed her out. I always point her out in the stuff I watch with my dad because we watched her in Ladybug for the longest time. We watched about 3 seasons before we dropped off because, frankly, if I'm being honest, there's no point in watching the rest of it.
Miraculous Ladybug, which is this little kids
Not
CGI
little. That
series.
thing is huge.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's this kids series out of France that that nobody takes seriously except the fan base takes it very seriously.
Because the fandom loves it. And I was a part of that fandom for such a long time. I recognized her out of everywhere. And I pointed her out to you, and you didn't really have any particular of a reaction. But
voice actors do voice actor stuff, but kind of cool, and we want to give her a shout out
even
there.
Another thing that I want to shout out, I'm pretty sure I figured out who. So in the beginning of the movie, we see this female cult member who speaks to one of the people. I'm pretty sure that cult actor is Amelie. Amelie is a VTuber that posts videos on YouTube. She streams and stuff. She recently joined a VTuber agency. And I remember listening to that, and I was like, wait, there's no way. So I pulled up my phone and I pulled up my usual site for looking this up, and she is credited as an additional voice actor. I'm pretty sure that's who she was. But I also wanted to call her out because I watch a lot of her stuff. She's really cool. I did not expect her to see her in this.
See, it's so much easier in my world where everybody actually shows up on screen, so you can look at a face and say, wait a minute, voices are a little trickier.
Yeah, it is always a little bit harder to tell. I mean, aside from Bakugo, you know who he is in every media. I mean, he's Inosuke in Demon Slayer, which we're watching right now. He is also in
Basically,
everything.
he's the same character in Demon Slayer.
Essentially, yeah.
If Inosuke could fire, grenade blasts out of his hands, he absolutely would. Actually, no, he wouldn't do it out of his hands. He would do it out of that stupid snout.
Yeah, I mean, that's painting such a terrible image in my head. Oh, I'm gonna have to look up fan art of this later.
Yeah, if I have to think about it, you do too.
Oh, shut up! Okay, but anyways, kind of drawing the conversation away from the movie, particularly to My Hero, just in general the series, we've discussed a lot of stuff around the 2 years that it's taken us to catch up with the series. And you've mentioned to me that your favorite character is Froppy. So,
yes,
I want you to tell me, why is that?
I don't know. There's something just quirky about her, something that just appeals to me. She's not main character material, and she doesn't care. She's just there to do what she does. It's that idiosyncratic aspect of her that I just like. It's a fun character.
Oh yeah, she's just vibing. She's one of the only responsible people in that class.
She is, yes. And she's also one of those that you just want to take care of.
Exactly.
I don't know. There's just something about her that really, really appeals to me. I enjoy her. And I latched onto her early on as someone that I
want to say as early as season 2.
I think might even be before that. But yes, during training. In the training domes, I was pointing her out.
We're talking early as like episode 4 or 5.
Yeah, something about her just struck me.
More like maybe 9 or 10, I think. I don't remember the exact episode, but wow.
Yeah, she's not the prettiest. She's not the best. But you know what? If she's on my team, I know I'm going to be able to rely on her. She's got my back no matter what. She's standing up to the rest of the kids when they're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, she is actively calling them out, which once again brings me back to she's one of the only responsible people in that class. They're just a bunch of hooligans.
There's just something, and she is adorable.
She is adorable.
I mean, Ochako is adorable too, but Ochaka is conventionally adorable, and Froppy is weirdly adorable. So I don't want to reduce it to that. There's just something about her that I really like. That's like the one that I need to find a figure of, or that I need to. I have a model somewhere on my hard drive. It's like eventually I really should try printing her out or something like that.
I'll definitely keep an eye out for like pop figures or stuff. Maybe for Father's Day or for your birthday or something. That would be a hilarious gift to give you.
Because My Hero is it's one of those. See, the thing about having a teenage daughter is that for those of us who are older, it's a good excuse to catch up on what's happening in anime. Because I watched anime when I was in my 20s. Not as much in my teenage years. I mean, a little bit when I was a kid, but it wasn't available. You have no idea how hard we had to work to get our anime. Again, Gen Xers, explain to her. Trading videotapes and copying things, not because we wanted to be pirates, but because it was the only possible way to get things out. It's hard to explain. But then also, it's like I can tell like what age you are by what anime you watched. I really can.
I mean, my first anime particularly was Pokemon, just because that was the first thing I ever started on. My best friend George at the time got me into that. And the rest was kind of history. I jumped from that, kind of took a break for a while, and then I ended up on Assassination Classroom. And after that, that led me into My Hero, into Demon Slayer, into Attack on Titan, into basically all the other weird series that I watched.
For Gen Z, it's very much My Hero, Attack on Titan, and
Demon
stuff
Slayer,
like that.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I've never understood
If I go to a millennial, though, it's going to be Tenchi Muyo. It's going to be a couple things in that era. Maybe some Sailor Moon. A few things like that. If you go to a Gen Xer, we're going to talk to you about we're going to talk to you about Ninja Scroll. We're going to talk to you about Ghost in the Shell, the anime, not the Scarlett Johansson adaptation. We're going to talk to you about Cyber City, and if you go a little bit beyond me to like early Gen X, because I'm right on the edge. Early Gen X will talk to you about RoboCop, or not. I'm sorry. About
RoboCop.
They're going to talk to you about Robotech. And they're going to talk to you about Gatchaman. And Star Blazers. It's like I can tell how old you are by what your key anime is. But that also means you drift away from it. So I get to look through some of that because I also get to like show up at anime conventions with you and not look like a creeper.
That's definitely true. Just like being my giant like Hatsume, just kind of bringing back the conversation.
Tell me about who do you cosplay from My Hero?
I've actually cosplayed 3 different characters from My Hero, being a
seriously, you've gone through a bunch.
I've gender bent a Todoroki, I've done an Aizawa, and obviously I have my favorite, My Little Princess Mei Hatsune, because I love my insane girlies. Those are the main 3. I would love, like, I have the female uniform. I'd love to try and just twist it up and just do a different character. But there really aren't any that I love enough to really do a different one. Unless I, like, gender bent, again, one of them. I'm actually going to be going. We're actually going to be going to ZipCon in around a week or so.
That's the anime convention in Akron, Ohio, at the actual University of Akron.
Yes.
They basically take over the student union. And they've been doing it for a while. It's student run, although they've gotten bigger and bigger. They invite in media guests these days. So yeah, that's one that we do. That we do frequently. Well, yes, now, I only have one My Hero cosplay. That's Gran Torino. Because, he's old and grumpy. So am I. Literally, I just grow out my beard. And it's white, and so is his. And I've got a nice wild white. When we showed up, I don't know if it was last year or the year before.
It was the year before.
Okay. We showed up, and I'm in that costume.
Okay.
And registration looked at me. Registration looked at me and was like, I've never seen a Gran Torino before.
But as I was talking about before, I totally lost my train of thought now. As we were kind of talking before, cosplay-wise, we're going to be heading up to ZipCon soon, and I'm actually going to be going with a coworker from my work, and she's going to be doing a really cool Dobby cosplay. She's told me about how she plans to do the stitches and how she's made the leather jacket to wear for it, and I'm debating, should I go as Aizawa so our costumes will match more, or should I pull out the hot reins and bring out Hatsume? Because if I bring out Hatsume, with the two of us in a duo, we might have a chance at, placing. But, they wouldn't match characters, though. That's the thing.
It's an anime convention, too. We've done costume contests before, but we've done them at Comic-Cons. There's a world of difference. That's interesting. I didn't know she was doing a Dobby. I've thought about doing a Dobby because...
and I don't have a good costume to duet her with, which is so annoying, because I don't have any villain costumes.
Well, I did buy a bunch of hands this past Halloween. I mean, I could throw together... I kept thinking about doing a Shigaraki, and I also figured, okay, that white spiky wig, that'll work for that too.
Maybe. I'm not really sure. I haven't really decided yet. I'm going to be meeting up with her on Friday, so we'll probably talk more in depth about what we're going to do specifically there. But anyways, bringing back to My Hero Academia, because we keep going, way off track. I did want to just talk a little bit more about, some of the arcs that go on during the series. We have a lot of different arcs that go on as the season, resumes. So did you have a particular arc that you enjoyed more so than others?
I don't know. See, I think the first. Because the first is what I wanted. The first is learning curve. And that's what I felt this was supposed to be. In a lot of ways, My Hero is a manga modernization of X-Men. Now, it's X-Men during the Chris Claremont era. Chris actually came to Cleveland a couple of years ago, and it's a shame that I couldn't take you to meet him, but you were at church camp, and Mom and I had to leave early to go pick you up. But Chris Claremont kind of defined a lot of X-Men, especially 70s, 80s. And it's learning curve. It's getting to know each other. It's getting to work together, which is a lot. That's really when I hear My Hero Academia, academia is school. It is the whole school system. And I wanted to see more of training, learning your powers, and...
We got a whole season of that, though.
I wanted to see a whole series. I wanted that to be the point of the series. That's what that name says it should be to me. We got a season of that. I was surprised we didn't get more of that. And, we didn't get a proper full season. We got a season, and then the school gets attacked. And then we get the sports festival, and then the school gets attacked. And then it's the end of the world. And that is the sound of us running out of time. I guess that's what we get for trying to talk about both the movie and the series all in one shot. But we'll be back next week and continue this conversation on My Hero Academia.